1612, a small island off the coast of Japan. The air was cold, the ocean completely still, as if the water itself was holding its breath. Two of the greatest warriors in history were about to face each other. One of them, Sasaki Kojiro, had arrived at dawn, prepared, focused, deadly. He stood on that island, sword in hand, ready to kill. He waited. 1 hour passed. The sun rose higher. Still, nothing. 2 hours passed. His hands began to tremble. Not from fear, from rage. Where was his opponent? Then, on the horizon, a small boat appeared. And inside that boat, a man was sleeping, calmly, peacefully, as if this was just another ordinary morning. That man was Miyamoto Musashi. And before he even stepped off that boat, he had already won. Most people know the name Musashi, Japan's greatest swordsman, undefeated in over 60 duels. 60, not one defeat, not one. In an era where a single duel meant death. This was not luck, this was not talent, this was something far more dangerous. But here is what most people don't know. Musashi's greatest weapon was never his sword. It was his silence. He was born in 1584 in a small village in Japan, a Japan that was not peaceful, a Japan drowning in war. Death was not something people feared there. Death was something people expected. And in the middle of all this chaos, a boy was born. His father, a samurai himself, left him before he could walk. No goodbye, no explanation, just gone. So the boy grew up alone, no warmth, no guidance, no home, just silence, and perhaps that is where it all began. That strange, uncomfortable friendship with silence. At just 13 years old, a grown, trained warrior challenged him. Everyone expected the boy to run. Musashi didn't run. He felt absolutely nothing. No fear, no panic, no hesitation. While his opponent screamed and charged, Musashi simply waited. And in that silence, he found something most people spend their entire lives searching for, his power. As years passed, Musashi wandered. No home, no master, no school, just roads, forests, rain, silence. He called this Musha Shugyo, the warrior's pilgrimage, a journey with no destination, only growth. And as he wandered, he began to notice something strange. Every opponent he faced made the same mistake. They talked too much. They threatened. They boasted. They tried to intimidate with words. And every single word they spoke revealed something. Their fear, their strategy, their weakness. Musashi said nothing. He just watched, and slowly he realized something that would change everything. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is not weakness. Silence is a weapon, the most powerful weapon that no one can see coming. Because when you stay completely quiet, something happens to the human mind. An uncomfortable feeling begins, a quiet panic. Your brain starts asking questions. What is he thinking? Why isn't he reacting? Did I say something wrong? Psychologists today call this the cognitive vacuum effect. When someone refuses to respond, your mind goes into panic mode. You start filling that silence with apologies, with secrets, with weakness. Musashi never read a psychology book, but 400 years ago, he had already mastered this. Musashi had a strategy, one that no one understood at the time. He would arrive late to every single duel, sometimes 1 hour late, sometimes 2, while his opponent stood waiting. Something happened inside their mind, the calm they had trained for. Slowly collapsed. Anger replaced focus. Doubt replaced confidence. And by the time Musashi finally arrived, the battle was already over. He hadn't raised a sword yet. He hadn't spoken a single word. But his opponent was already defeated inside. And when he arrived, he said nothing, no apology, no explanation, no reaction to their anger, just silence and a steady, unbothered gaze. His opponents would scream, call him a coward, a disgrace, a fool. Musashi would simply look at them and smile. That silence broke them completely. Because here is the dark truth about human psychology. We cannot handle being ignored. It is one of our deepest fears. When someone refuses to react to us, we lose control. We say things we shouldn't. We reveal things we shouldn't. We make mistakes we shouldn't. Musashi never lost his calm. Not once. And that calm was more deadly than any blade. Back to that island. 1612. Sasaki Kojiro, known as the demon of the Western provinces. His technique was legendary. His blade, so impossibly long. They called it the Drying Pole. Everyone believed this was Musashi's end. Finally, someone had found his match. But Musashi had already planned something extraordinary on the boat ride to the island, while everyone else prepared their minds for battle. Musashi picked up a spare wooden oar and carved it into a sword, a piece of wood, against the greatest blade in Japan. When Kojiro saw this, he was furious. "You come to your death with a piece of wood?" he screamed. He threw his scabbard into the sea, a warrior's greatest insult, meaning he had no intention of going home alive. Musashi watched, calmly. Then he spoke, quietly, just one sentence. "You have already lost, Kojiro." A man who throws away his scabbard has no intention of going home. Then, silence. The duel lasted 3 seconds. Musashi struck once. Kojiro fell. The greatest duel in Japanese history. Won not by the sharpest sword, not by the strongest warrior, but by the quietest mind. Musashi lived until he was 61. In his final days, alone in a dark cave, he picked up a brush and wrote his greatest work, the Book of 5 Rings. And in his very last piece, written just days before his death, he left behind 21 rules. Rules for a life well lived. The very first one, accept everything just the way it is. No complaints, no explanations, no noise, just acceptance and silence. So what can you learn from Musashi today? You don't have to answer every criticism. You don't have to react to every insult. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone, because the loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. Real strength often speaks the least. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. Sometimes silence is power. Every emotion has a story. Every story has a psychology. And Musashi's story was written in silence. If this made you see silence differently, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Subscribe to Emorveil, where every emotion has a story.